Hello everyone and welcome to South Africa. We are coming to you live with a herd of elephants. The safari could not have got off to a better start, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day here. It's about 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and my name is Scott. I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera, and we'd love to hear from you, so please use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter if you'd like to communicate with us. We'll do our best to get through everybody's questions, but of course that might be tricky because there are so many of you joining us from all around the world, which is quite special. Now, my plans are to follow up on a young male leopard who we had last night. His name is Thandi, and his tracks actually came right past our camp last night, probably shortly after the sunset safari finished. So quite interesting that he was comfortable to move in and around our camp environs, and I'm kind of just checking in the general direction where his tracks were heading to from there. So some exciting prospects. Hopefully we'll find that leopard, and it sounds like the elephants are about this morning because Steve has also just found a herd. Why don't you go and see what they're up to?
Good morning, a beautiful morning. It is here in Djuma in the Greater Kruger National Park, South Africa, and we have found a beautiful elephant cow and a little surprise in the grass for you there, which we'll go back to in a moment. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined by Dave Easter on camera, and we are out live in the safari wilderness for you this morning. Please feel free to send through your questions at hashtag Safari Live or follow us on the YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd want to see. The temperature is a nice 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and look at that little special surprise walking behind Mama there. I think this is the same female we saw last night, and the baby is brand new. Look how unsteady it is on its feet. And Mum is just taking grass by the ton and shoving it into her mouth to keep up with the requirements of producing milk for that beautiful little baby there, whose ears, as always, are plastered against its body to protect it from losing any heat. It is going to be an absolute scorcher today. Oh, look how unsteady she is. Consulting detective, it is absolutely tiny. But incredible, when they're born, they weigh over 100 kilograms, so over 200 pounds at birth. Can you imagine? That small little animal weighs that because the bones are very, very dense inside, because they need to be able to grow, and over time they will eventually turn into a 3,500 pound animal if it is a female, and up to 6,000 pounds, 12 to 13,000 pounds, 12 to 13,000 pound animal if it's a male, and probably about 6 to 8,000 pounds if it's a female. So interesting. And it just disappears into the thickets over there. We're going to leave it to its breakfast. So our plan this morning is to just double check up in the northeastern side of Djuma to see if the lions in fact got up, and if they did, where did they move to? They were very close to our northern boundary, so you would expect them to cross, but this is live, this is unpredictable. You have no idea what these lions might do. And while we go through there and have a look and see what we might come up with, let's go and say good morning to Taylor.
Good morning, good morning. The day is just dawning. My eyes are also very swollen today. The insects got me at night. I can't believe it. They're so mean. My name is Taylor McCurdy, though. And on camera with me today is Sebastian. And I suppose we can have a very quick look at the sun, because we want to do a bit of tracking. It's quite pretty, in fact, just rising between two marula trees, which I suppose is the best way to see a sunrise. Natural framing. For those of you who have only just jumped on board for the first time, it's great to have you all join us. Remember, you can talk to us, hashtag Safari Live, or you can also talk to us via the YouTube chat. That is, in fact, very pretty. Now, we've just popped onto Chitwa because I feel like I live here now. This is my new home. I should probably try and get some accommodation this side. Hey, Seb. What do you think? There's even a tiny little bird, I love that, just sitting on the little branches above the sun. I don't know if any of you actually spotted that. What bird it is, I have absolutely no idea. We'll just leave it as a mystery. Mystery bird this morning, silhouetted. So we're going to try and follow up on Tingana from last night. Apparently he went into camp. So that's the plan there. And I'm just trying to think, I mean, he could have turned around, he could have gone any direction in the camp, especially if he was chasing after bushbuck, in case he was chasing after a nyala, a number of different things. So we'll do what we did the other morning, and we'll try and drive as close to the fence line as we can, and then see if we can find any tracks coming out. If we don't find any tracks coming out, then we know he's still... he's still in camp. He's still checked into Chitwa waiting for breakfast. Right, off you go, back across to Scott. He's got a little owl.
How cool is this? It's a tiny pearl-spotted owlet, and it's calling. I've never seen them do this. There's the false eyes on the back of its head. Aren't you a clever thing? Why are you calling so loudly? What do you want from us? It's so beautiful. We don't often get great views of these little owls. It's tiny. It's probably the size of about 1.5 tennis balls. Would be something you can all relate to. Oh, it's looking down. What can you see down there? And I can hear a few fork-tailed drongos in the area. They're alarm calling at it. But why is it making an alarm call as well? I'm guessing it's kind of its alarm call. Seems a little bit worked up. But like I say, I've never heard this kind of cheeping from it before. What is below you? There must be something down there. I can't see anything. At first glance, nothing to see initially, but it definitely appears to continue looking down. Maybe there's a snake in the grass. I think there'd be more of a commotion from other birds, though. Interesting stuff. Gizmo, you say it's an interesting little bird. I think that's what you said. And it certainly is. A cute little bird. And it sure is, but don't be fooled by its size and its appearance. It is quite a ferocious hunter. And I've actually seen one of these little owls with a dove kill, and it was a laughing dove, which is a very similar size to itself. Now, it's not often you get birds of prey taking down animals the same size as themselves, but I was lucky enough to see that once upon a time up in Zimbabwe. I'm tempted to go and take a look under the tree, but for now I just would rather kind of sit tight and just enjoy this sighting, because again, we don't see them very often, and other than the branch in front of its face, this is a really good view. I'm hoping another pearl-spotted owlet is going to come onto the scene. Kendra and a few others, you're wondering if it's a baby. No, it's not a baby. It's fully grown, and again, it's probably the size of about 1.5 tennis balls. So if you put 1.5 tennis balls on top of one another, that would give you about the same size of this little bird. Not big at all. And of course, that kind of size reference is including feathers. So it'll actually be smaller than that if you were to pluck it, which we won't be doing this morning. No plucking of the owls here. Well, whatever's preoccupied it is certainly doing a useful job for us, because I think that's helping it stay put. I often wonder about these birds and how cool it would be to find one of their nests. Imagine seeing a tiny baby owlet. Sure, that would be cute. I'm actually not too sure where they nest, whether it's in cavities in trees or... I'm guessing that's where it is. Oh, Where did you go? I think it's just moved into the sunlight, actually. We're going to get you some beautiful views. It's just moved a little bit forward there, Sens. It fluttered off. It was on the perfect branch in the sun, but it didn't give us enough time to snipe in a quick view. But now that it's fluttered off a little bit further away, I want to just poke our nose in here and see if we can't look down on the grass and see anything that's out of the ordinary. Riandi Apple, you would like to know how many species of owls do we find here in the Sabi Sands? We find this owl, the pearl-spotted owlet, as well as the barred owlet. They look quite similar to one another, very similar sizes, and they are both owlets, miniature owls. Then we get the spotted eagle owl, the rose eagle owl, the barn owl. So definitely those 5. Possibly a grass owl as well, so that would be 6. Those are the ones that I've seen here. You could get a few others like the wood owl, probably the occasional sighting of the Pell's fishing owl along the Sand River, but that won't be very common, as its name suggests. It's a fish hunting expert, really rare owl to see, the Pell's fishing owl. Kirsty's just remind me of the white-faced Scops owl, so that's another one. So yeah, African Scops owl. So yeah, there's quite a few that we'll see. I'd say about 6 or 7 that we can see here. Most of which are nocturnal. These pearl-spotted owlets are actually diurnal. They move more during the day than at night. That's when they do a lot of their hunting. I'm not too sure where it's flitted off to. But that was super cool. I can't see any sign of anything strange below the tree there. You know, there could have been something like a snake, but very often they slither off. Okie dokes. K6, you would like to know if they nest here or if they migrate. Yes, they do nest here. They're not migratory. They're here throughout the year. And let me just pull out my bird app quickly here and actually find out where it is that they do nest. Okay. Where is the little pearl spotted? So, I can show you a few more pictures here as well. Although we did get such great views, so there's not a huge need for this, but we can appreciate these photographers' work. There's those false eyelets on the back of the head. Very nice adaptation. Well, this helps tell our story. Adults in nest halls. So thankfully I didn't have to do any reading. And imagine if we came across one of those. What a cool scene. Hey? So, they nest here in holes in trees. So, for the rest of the drive, I'm going to be looking for a pearl-spotted owl nest. Wish us luck, and we are going to wish you luck as you jump on board with Steve.
Thank you, Scotty. Yes, how awesome is that to see a little pearl-spotted owlet as we drive along with the sun rising on our eastern side. There's a small breeding herd in front of us about to cross the road. Isn't that gorgeous, that sunshine? There's huge amounts of elephant activity on our eastern section. The tracks here are everywhere, and here we have 3 individuals. I'm sure there's more of them. They might have crossed already, and they are after the delicious marula fruits that are lying on the ground underneath that large marula. Let's see what they will do after they have taken their sweet for breakfast. Definitely. Velma wants to know how long until that little Ellie we saw before is able to travel long distances. Well, in the first couple of months, they do struggle to go very far, so Mum will keep quite decent, well, just around water and around food, which is a good reason why they breed this time of year, because there's an abundance of food. But by the time the winter kicks in the next 3 to 4 months, that youngster will be able to keep up much better than it is now, but still it needs about 6 months. It's quite efficient at following, but it's still going to be quite slow for the first few months. But that's why it is ideal for most parents or most females to breed sort of in our summer months. The earlier in the summer you can breed, the better, because that means that those babies, by the time the harsh, drought conditions come, are big enough and strong enough to be able to walk long distances, which is what elephants do. They are very, very sort of nomadic. They move in very large, or in groups at very large distances in the search of nutrients and obviously water. This is their favorite time of year, the marula season. And that is a large female with probably 2 successive years of calves. So it's probably a good chance that she's pregnant again at the moment. She does look quite round as she scratches herself on that tree. Michael, that's a very interesting question. He wants to know if elephants have the biggest ratio of mother to calf at birth. And I don't think so, because, I mean, giraffes' babies are almost the same weight as an elephant baby when it's born. And a giraffe only weighs about 1,500 kilograms at the most. So that's, 3,000 pounds, whereas a female elephant weighs double that, easily double that, and the baby is equivalently the same size in weight. A little bit different. I mean, it's not exactly the same, probably about 10 kilograms more to the elephant baby, but ratio-wise, that baby is actually very small for the elephant, because the giraffe needs to be able to run from birth. That is a great shot, Dave. Whereas elephants, no one's going to chase a baby elephant because mommy can be very dangerous. So she can afford to have a less developed baby because it doesn't need to follow, or it doesn't need to run away from predators, whereas a giraffe can only protect its youngster so much. It needs to be able to keep up with the herd. It needs to be able to run when there's danger. And she will protect it where she can, but when it comes to giving her life for the baby, they'll quite often let their baby die and breed again. So yeah, definitely not. If we just look at elephants versus giraffe, already the giraffe ratio is much bigger. I hope that answers your question. So essentially, for antelope and animals that need to survive predation from an early age, wildebeest, impala, giraffe, kudu, all these animals generally have a baby that's born much further developed than it should be, purely because it needs to be able to move very quickly from birth. Such nice lighting. They are making sure there is no marula fruit left anywhere near around this tree, and probably their movements over the last few weeks have been from marula to marula. And there you can see she's feeding on the seeds again of the tall grasses, trying to get her nourishment in. Good morning, Ash. Wants to know if elephants get ticks, and you do find some ticks sometimes behind the ears where the skin is very, very thin, and also sometimes around the sort of genital area where the skin's quite thin. But other than that, you don't normally find too many, because their skin is very thick. Very, very thick skin means that it's very difficult for the ticks to grab on or to get any purchase and to suck any blood. Okay, so this breeding herd is slowly making their way back into Djuma, and we're going to go over to Taylor, who I believe has got some elephants of her own.
We do, and we've got 3 very naughty elephants that have been caught in the act this morning. They've been caught red-handed, causing a roadblock. Look at that. See how they've snapped the silver cluster leaf in half. Now, it's not because she wanted to close the road and have a private party down in the Mulwanini, I promise, but she's actually quite a caring animal, like elephants are, is that she's broken down this massive marula so that her youngsters can all feed on it too. Because unfortunately, when the tree was standing upright, it most certainly was not big enough for the little ones to feed on it either. Hello, girl. Have you already had a drink of water as well? You've all been very, very busy this morning. Beautiful golden light. Hello, big girl. Hello. It's okay. Relax. Awesome. That's so nice. Off you go. Follow Mum. Had enough of that silver cluster leaf. Moving on now. Now, Ron, you're wondering, how do the elephants survive the lack of vegetation in winter? Now, for those of you who don't know what Ron is talking about, in the winter months here in the Sabi sand, in the low-veld parts of South Africa, all the vegetation basically disappears. So the grass is pretty much devoured by everything and flattened by the various animal feet, and a lot of the trees lose their leaves. So it becomes quite harsh in comparison to what we're seeing now. So basically, Ron, elephants are incredible. They're able to adapt, and they're equipped with those big long tusks, which they will use as digging tools to dig for water, firstly, because there's also no rain. So it's nice for them to be able to dig up some fresh water in the dry riverbeds. And then, Ron, we do start to see them pushing more and more trees over. They'll feed on the bark. They're particularly going for the cambium layer, which is sort of the layer where nutrients are transported. And just watch out, they're going to drive through the shot. Sorry, everybody. We'll be there in the middle. We'll get back another look at them now. There we go. One of the safari vehicles is just going past. There we go. So they'll eat that. They'll also use those tusks to stick them into the ground, not for digging water this time around, but for digging up roots of trees as well as bulbs. So they'll take whatever they can. But you're quite right. Their diet it becomes quite sort of restricted and during the months of winter, but they are able to survive. You can see them losing a little bit of condition, and you normally start to see the elephants secreting from their temporal glands, so those glands just behind the eyes, and that's normally a stress indication or an overstimulation of adrenaline. So it could mean a number of different things, but of course it's quite easy to put two and two together in the harsher months of winter, and then we'll know that it's because there's a lack of food, a lack of water, that they're a little bit on the stress side. But they're just disappearing now, right off into the distance. Very cool. We'll see what else we can find. Now, as we drive along, the silver cluster leaf that they pulled over doesn't have any thorns on it at all. So it's a fairly easy tree to feed on, except it's got tannins as a chemical defense instead. Now, Brent, you're wondering, why do the thorns on trees not affect an elephant's mouth? It's actually quite simple. I always like to try and describe it as somebody that works in the garden. So if you find someone who does landscaping and is constantly designing gardens, or someone that goes and prunes roses or whatever, he picks oranges off of a tree, basically, if you're not wearing any gloves, your hands will eventually get used to it, and they start to build up a tolerance to the thorns. You might not get as pricked as easy. They become slightly calloused, like a construction worker working with sledgehammers or any of... Yeah. There you go. You can guide. You should be able to guide it through. There we go. And yeah, so basically that just happens. They just get used to it. But you will watch them. They'll be quite careful about the way that they do feed. You often see them they'll put something in their mouth and they'll stick their trunks back in and sort of move it around just a little bit. Obviously, if there's something pricking them up on the top of their palates, they'll move it out. Sometimes they go, right, no, that's done, and take it out and throw it away. So yeah, so they can indeed do that. But it's fairly easy. It's the same thing with giraffe, the same thing with kudu, anything that's feeding on thorny trees. But let's see, maybe we bump into that herd of elephants again. Otherwise, we're still searching for Tangana. No sign of him. Off you go across to Steve, who is in hot pursuit of those lions.
Thank you very much, Taylor. It seems to be an elephantastic morning. We are right up in the north of our northeast. We've just turned the corner. Right here on the corner, we've come up the road here, and we've just turned left onto our northern boundary, and the lions were left just over here last night. So we're very close to where we last saw them. You see Buffelshoek Dam. Actually, sorry, I'm at the wrong road there. They were at this road over there, just north of the dam. So we're going to go check that, but while we're on the boundary, we're going to see if there are any tracks that possibly come across here. So it is a beautiful morning. We can feel like it's going to be very hot. Kirst has whispered in my ear that it's going to get up to 39 degrees Celsius. So if I work out in my head, that is 70 plus, that's close to 100 degrees. I hope you feel for us here in Djuma, in South Africa. Those of you at home who are experiencing relatively cold temperatures, we are going to be extremely hot this afternoon, and I wonder if any of my teammates are going to go for a run. Dave's going to go for a run. He's hardcore. He's very hardcore. But I'm sure it'll be done sooner after breakfast than later. Am I right, David? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But what often happens when the day gets hot like it will today, yesterday was quite similar, but it was 4 degrees Celsius cooler. We got a very big build-up of clouds in the west, and that led to a very nice afternoon. But when it gets hot like this, it often leads to thunderstorms and showers. So maybe, even though there's no rain predicted on the forecast, maybe we will get some showers, which will be really, really do well for our area, fill up the dams a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to continue here checking very, very hard for these lion and their tracks. And while we do so, let's go to Scott, who's looking for a leopard.
Yes, good luck, Steve. I hope you find their tracks and that they lead you deeper into Djuma. As I'm sure you explained on the map, they were very close to the boundary last night. So let's hope they haven't gone. And no sign of Tumba just yet. His tracks were heading towards a small waterhole that we're about to arrive at. I mean, I saw the tracks early last night at around 8:30. So probably just made his way straight from the Vuyatilla Dam up around the kind of back of the lodge area and then slunk past our camp. And I'm fairly certain he would have come up and spent some time around here. So hoping that we either find him or some of his tracks. Looks like some hyena tracks down there. That's not who we're looking for. Alrighty. It's turning out to be a beautiful day, but as you've been discussing, it's going to become a scorcher. 39 degrees Celsius, that I think takes us into the hundreds Fahrenheit. So we're in for a sticky one, but for now it's absolutely magic. Where are your footprints, Tumba? Michael, you'd like to know if Brent is going to be on drive this afternoon, and yes, at this stage he most certainly will be, unless there's any complications with him getting in, which is unlikely. So yes, that would be the plan, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited, as I'm sure he is too. He hasn't taken a drive around the Sabi Sands for a long time. I'm guessing probably close on a year now that he's been here, and I'm sure he is really looking forward to enjoying the massive difference between here and the Mara. It's a hugely different safari experience, and he's going to be a bundle of energy. So if you haven't met Brent yet, be ready for one enthusiastic character to be taking you around this afternoon. And yeah, I think it's actually Taylor's turn for a break, so I think she's going to get the afternoon off. Shame, and her eye's also giving her trouble today, so that works out quite well. Very good. Well, I wonder where Tumba's gone. Haven't had any luck with tracks so far, but hopefully something will change. And let's send you across to Taylor to see on her quest for Tingana whether she's had any luck.
we're not faring very well this morning because we haven't even found a track to follow just yet. So we're just coming up the airstrip, nice sandy spot to check. I might have to ask Scott very nicely if he would exchange this afternoon off for a morning, as I don't think I've not slept for more than 3 hours since I've been back at work. In 2 weeks that I've been here, it's so much fun. It's great being an insomniac. It's amazing. So we're just going to quickly check here and have a little look around and see what we can find, because otherwise Chitwa's looking a little bit quiet this morning, but I suppose it's been bustling every other day, so we can't be too greedy. Then we might go back up towards Sheeta Cutline and maybe check around Leadwood, Drakensberg, some of those sort of roads in that area. So we're going to go down here. It's nice though. It was actually cold when we started off drive. I was a bit chilly. Take the scarf off now. Not quite ready to take my jacket off in a minute. But yeah, we're in for an exceptionally hot day. I'm, supposed to be going for a run today, but now that I've realized that it's going to be 39 degrees, I don't know if we'll be going for a run. Maybe you have to do a run before breakfast. Otherwise, we're going to die. It's going to be too hot. Okay, I'm just trying to think if I go a little bit further east, maybe we'll pick up some tracks. Now, Dances with Dirt, you're wondering if the marula season is almost over. Yes, it is in fact almost over. It normally ends in March. So we're starting to see fewer and fewer trees dropping their fruits. Also, the trees that have already dropped all their fruits are looking a little bit on the sad side, like they haven't been watered for a while. All those leaves are going to wilt off. This is actually coming up to my favorite part, and I didn't see it last year, which I was quite sad for. It wasn't a dramatic change, but normally what happens is those leaves start turning to yellow, and maybe it was because we had a little bit of wind this time last year. It was blowing those leaves all quicker than what they normally would. We shouldn't have much wind at this time of the year, but the contrast of a marula tree with that beautiful sort of dark brown and all bits of white on the tree, and then the bright yellow leaves, because of course they've now changed to that color because they're not getting any more nutrients, against the blue skies is quite pretty. And I haven't seen it. The last time I saw it, I think, was maybe 2016. Yeah, was the last time. This time 2016, and I didn't see it last year. It was bizarre. So I'm going to be looking out for any marulas that are looking beautiful and yellow, because they are still lovely. We don't quite get the dramatic change of season like you can see in other parts of the world, in terms of, going into the autumn season, where all the leaves start to look lovely in shades of reds and yellows. And Kirsty's going to tell me that my color palette is not up to scratch, so I'll be researching different types of colors when I get back home today. So I thought I'd call it out before she called me out. So that's something to look forward to in the next up and coming months. So sadly, no more tasting of marula fruits. I better start collecting the last of them though and try to save some. They are delicious. I don't know if I get Kirsty's joke this morning, but I am going to send you to Steve, and I'm sure he will tell you what he's got.
Good morning, everybody, and yes, indeed, we have managed to find the Nkuhumas pride. And for all of those out there who think lions are very active at night, they have moved probably about 15 meters. 15 meters is not very far in the context of things, but that is just evidence of how full they really were and how much buffalo they managed to secure for themselves last night. The youngsters looking at some francolin that were moving along the road. There's some Shelley's francolin and some crested now as well. Here comes a lion. The youngsters probably gone for a drink, and it's on its way down the road now, all the way back to the rest of the pride. Remember, the Buffelshoek Dam is not far, probably 200, not even 200 yards behind where that lion has just come from. So I haven't been able to count all the lions here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus that one joining is about 9, but I don't know. They might just be lying up in the grass. Okay, here comes another one from the dam. 2 of the youngsters A little bit more energy, I suppose. Such beautiful golden light for these tawny cats. Yay, lions. Yeah, we've been very fortunate to have the Nkuhumas on our property for the last 2 days. And hopefully, as their heads are up, they're definitely in the mood to do something. Oh, as I say that, the one lioness flops to the ground. But definitely, probably, or hopefully, they might do some playing like we had the other night. That was marvelous. And thankfully we're far enough away from where they probably spent most of the night, so the smell that we normally find with a pride of lions like this seems to have disappeared. There we go, for the yoga enthusiasts. The downward facing dog. There seems to be something in the bushes there that those youngsters are interested in. And now this lioness is moving towards it as well. Oh, it just jumped into the tree. It's in the tree. Sid Public, do lion prides ever get big? Too big they have to break up? Yes, they will. If conditions are very, very good, prides sometimes get very, very large because there's a huge food abundance. Let's see, she's going to tackle. Yeah, that's a playful adult there. It's nice to see. So sometimes if the prides get too big, it becomes difficult to feed them all. And that often happens when you get a high proportion of the cubs that survive. In my experience with the mountain pride down in Kruger Park, they had a number of individuals that were sub-adults that survived, and so the lionesses themselves actually split, with some of the lionesses moving off and starting their own pride and getting their own cubs, because it was about 30 animals at the time, and then it was just way too much food. You can imagine a wildebeest or even a buffalo doesn't go very far amongst 30 animals, because a lioness itself can probably feed on about 40 to 50 pounds of meat in one sitting. They've recorded a male lion feeding on 36 kilograms in one go, which is an enormous amount of meat. I think I'm going to try get around there, because for some reason those lionesses seem to be jumping into the tree. Are you okay with that, Darby? That seems to be where the action is. Good morning, Pee-wee Bruce. You want to know why lions have black marks behind their ears? I'll explain that to you. Let's just have a look at this lioness having a little claw mark there. This is very common in lions to do. They scratch trees. Some people say it's a form of territory marking, but it's also a way of cleaning the claws. Watch, that individual on the right is going to stalk. Watch this. Here it comes. Comes the leopard crawl. Here, look at that, hiding behind that small bush. Here we go. The death pounce. Ooh, yay. This is what we love about lions, when they get playful like this in really good light. So the black marks behind the ears, if you see that lioness as it turns right there, can you see those black marks? Now as it turns towards us, those black marks disappear. So essentially what it is these cats are tawny and they're camouflaged, and when they have intention, for example, as that one you're looking at now is looking, the intention on its face and those ears can indicate to the rest of the pride behind it in very dark conditions exactly what direction it's looking in. And that can allow the pride to single out prey animals, and so they can put their intention into the same hunt. But and from the front, those black marks are not there, which means that they are almost invisible to the animals out here, because lions are all about camouflage and stealth, and when they don't want to be seen, they are not seen. So the black marks on the ears and on the tail are primarily for communication for the pride, for the other animals, so that they all know what is going on and where the others are going to. And that is a fully grown lioness there. She is beautiful. I'm not sure which one she is. I think she might be the mother of the cub. All that tactile communication, head rubbing. The cub's getting a bit jealous. It's going to go and say hello to mum now. In the front of the, just moving away here. There we go, some interesting behavior. There we go, there's the littlest member of the Nkuhumas pride. And she's wondering what mum is doing. Very cute. Those of you who've been with us for some time will know that that cub was not looking well a month ago, and we haven't spent too much time with him over the last month, so we know that it's definitely competing well in the feeding frenzy of the kill, and it's picked up quite a bit of weight. It's still a little bit skinny, but it seems to be doing quite well, and that cough that was very characteristic of it seems to have gone. I haven't heard it. I think I heard it cough once the other day. Watch, the cub is low, getting ready for the pounce. 3, 2, 1, go. The cub has to be tough because there's lots of young sub-adults here that just flatten it. So we watched the other day as it got involved with all the individuals and was always the second one to help pounce and take down another one of the youngsters. But then each of the youngsters in turn took it upon them to harass this poor little cub. So it needs to be tough. It's like having lots of older brothers or sisters that just beat you up. You need to be tough to survive. And that is the way lions work. If you can't survive the play and you can't survive the kill, then your genetics will go away with you. Sassy, this is very sweet. It is wonderful to spend time, excuse me, with lions doing something like this. Watch, the cub is probably going to claw on the tree now, just like mother did. Let's have a look. Oh no. Yesterday it was doing some clawing. Now it's going to eat a leaf. This one's going to claw. Oh, there we go. Is there going to be some scratches? Yes. There we go. Quite often when we spend time with these animals, they are so full and so bloated that you end up just watching them lying very, very flat. We were very fortunate, Dave and myself, I think 3 nights ago, to have spent that amazing couple of hours with the pride. Spent the whole afternoon with them, and they were playing and playing. It was really quite something to see, especially early on in the evening. Very boisterous. You see how it goes for the rump. It's a very important tactic for lions to pull down larger prey, such as buffalo. They don't want them to get their horns in the way. That poor terminalia, silver cluster leaf, is getting a proper scratching. Anna Marie would like to know why the sticks seem to get mange, whereas the Nkuhumas don't. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but mange has got a lot to do with condition, and it also can be transferred by ticks. It can actually lead to mange. So a lot of its condition, maybe the sticks aren't getting as good a diet, maybe there's more competition down there for them, maybe the animals that they are feeding on are smaller, so there's more competition in the pride. I don't know exactly, but mange is something that perpetuates in animals that have a lower condition. I mean, you could see Amber Eyes had a little bit of mange on her back, but because she's such a strong individual, and because she's so big and dominating, and they get so many buffalo, it seems like their condition just seems to override the mange. But what is good news is that the lions are all moving in a southerly direction. Possible they're going to just go and drink, but that is into Djuma, so we're going to be able to spend some more time with them, which is great. They could quite easily have turned and gone towards us, and then within 30 to 40 yards they would have been out of our property and we would have had to leave them. But this is marvelous. We've got them moving, we've got them playing. The adult has taken down the cub. He has no respite from any of the individuals. Shame. They all have a go at the little youngster. They all have a go, and they all seem like they're going to move towards the dam. So let's see if we can just move around and get on the other side of them. Sandro wants to know when the pride teaches the cub how to hunt. It's learning all the time. All of these games that you see, all of these games that they play, these tackling and clawing and fighting and jumping and pouncing and stalking that you see the cubs playing, are all actually practice for the real thing. They need to practice on targets that aren't going to hurt them back, or aren't going to fight them, or aren't going to gorge them with a horn. I think I mentioned the other day, you don't go into the ring against Mike Tyson without some practice. So they all need to practice, and the best people to play with are their bed mates, their brothers and sisters. Watch out for the bump, Darby. Oy, sorry about the bump, folks. Okay, so while we watch these beautiful predators, we're going to follow them to the dam. Let's go to Taylor with the nest raiding specialist.
It's just flown. Wait, hang on, there it goes. Let's see if it's going to land in that next big marula. Nah. Off it goes, I'm afraid. Oh man, hang on, I think I can see a branch moving. Let me see if we can get it again. It was so cool. We switched off the car because we were here as well, because it didn't for about it was such a quick sighting. We were like, oh my goodness, that's so close. It was the closest I think I'd ever been to an African harrier-hawk. It was really cool. I can still see it. Please don't fly again. Just you, have you got it? This marula in between the gap. The smaller one, not this one on the left, the one to the right. Ah, there it goes. It does not want to. Here it comes. It's just at the bottom of the trunk of that tree. There we go. Yeah, it's there. You've got it. Look in between. If you look in between the gap, there we go. Now you can just see its wings moving. So, like Steve said, it is a nest raiding specialist. Let me see if I go a little bit more. No, I don't think. I'm trying to do the rock the car forward. So it's looking in all the crevices on the trees. See that? Probably trying to target things like barbets and parrots, even starlings that all nest in holes in trees. We're a very, very good spot. Looking for little nestlings. It's amazing how they can hold on to the trunk of the tree like that. What a beautiful bird. And I know it's many of you particularly favor the African harrier-hawk or the Djuma gene. Man, that'd be a cool bird to be. So now you ask us, if you could be any bird, what bird would you like to be? I think I'm going to have to try and become one of these one day. Let me go forward a little bit. I know it's going to hop up, but I think we could get a much better view if I do. Sneak in now. I'm going to just switch off the car and roll. There we go. Here it is. Up it goes, up the next branch, searching. That's so incredible. It's a little bit creepy though, the way, look at its head working. Probably also listening for any movement, which will then tell it where it needs to go. Indigo Girl, you said you love these birds. They're pretty spectacular. They're unique, and the coloration is also so special. It's very, very difficult to get this bird confused with anybody else as well. Down here in the low veld, there's nothing else that resembles this bird, with the grey and the black feathers, and then of course all that yellow facial skin. There it goes, just flying off down to the right to the next marula. There we go, that big one. Just landed. There it is, sitting in the beautiful golden light again. Looking for holes. Yeah, look at the way its head's working. Now, of course, they hunt completely differently to something like a battlier, for example. A battlier will be up in the sky looking down onto its prey, hoping to either scavenge or to spot a small prey species like a scrub hare, even some ground-dwelling birds. The same thing goes for tawny eagles. Whereas I find these are more sort of actively hunting. We see going from tree to tree, then running up and down the trunk of the tree, dangling off, poking its head inside all those little holes. Up it goes again, and they're quite nimble the way that they're able to maneuver. That's a good spot as well. See how the branch has snapped off? I'm pretty sure things like termites would have hollowed that out, or something would have hollowed it out. Not much in there though. It's not having the greatest of luck. But we've had some incredible sightings actually at Chitwa at the dam, of them trying to get into the buffalo weaver's nest. But sometimes it can be a little bit on the difficult side. Off it goes again. See, that's so cool. How amazing. That is a very, very nice sighting. Very amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, Steve thought those lions were going to go for a drink. They've got distracted. They're up a tree.
Yes, we have got them in the tree. The littlest one has jumped up there to join that one. Oh, he's trying to pull it out. She's trying to pull it out. No. Let her play in the tree. It's a proper little jungle gym for these cats. Here comes the adult. Oh, that's how you play. That's how you take something down. And now she's trying to pull the baby out the tree. Look at that. This is marvelous. I've never in my life ever seen a lion in a tree. I've seen photos and video, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. This is marvelous stuff. Most of the pride is behind us now, walking directly towards the dam. It was only the one that went, and then they started giving off that sort of contact call. And now they all started following, and as we turned around, we got these two youngsters jumping in the tree and having an absolute ball of a time. Oh, there's lots of playing going on. We're finding it very difficult to find the right place to be. Gator den. Wow, look at that. Isn't that marvelous? There's an adult female that's just jumped into the tree. She weighs about 135 kilograms. What's that? 260, 280 pounds. And she just effortlessly jumped into that tree. I think they're trying to be leopards today. You wanted to go to Den, you wanted to know if male lions play. And I have seen males play, younger males especially. Older males don't have too much time for play. They will groom and spend time with each other, but they don't play. I think they're too cool for that. And often you'll see youngsters try to play with them, and they don't like that too much, depending on the male. Yeah, this is wonderful. I wonder if there was at any stage maybe a leopard cached something in that tree which has given them the inspiration to climb it. Maybe it smells of meat in there. Who knows? Marvelous to see it though. I'm sure these individuals are going to start following the rest of the pride now. It's really hard for us to make up our mind. Do we stay with the lion in the tree, or do we go and follow the lions that are definitely going to go and drink? Well, at least there's a lioness here, and that's a young male there who might jump in the tree as well. Let's see if there's enough weight, or the tree's got enough strength. African weeping wattle. He's getting a hammering today from the Nkuhumas. That's marvelous. Adult lioness in a tree. He's going to walk right past me. Okay, no, he's not. What a marvelous morning we're having. You could spend the whole morning with these guys with their behavior like this. They're playing, they're having so much fun. Let's see her come down. This is always the...
Oh, well, sorry to take you away from that wonderful sighting of the lions up the tree. It sounds like an awesome scene to be witnessing. So let's hope that whatever technical issues Steve developed there are not going to be causing too much of an issue for too much longer. Very wonderful. So we've moved out of the area where we were hoping to find any sign of young Tumba, a male leopard, and I've instead now come to an area where we can check around for any sign of his mother, Thandi, and her new child. She's been spending a lot of time in and around the eastern portions of our property. Here's some tracks here. These look like they could be the little cub, which means her track should be somewhere alongside it as well. Tiny little tracks over there. Just need to be careful because there were some elephants behind me, so I don't want to disrupt them. Huh. Now I wonder how fresh these tracks are. They're difficult to see. You probably won't be able to see them from there. And I can't see any of Mom's tracks nearby, which is strange. But the little cub is becoming quite a rebel, and possibly it wasn't following Mom too closely. Now, none of us followed up in this area yesterday. There's the Ellie behind me. Don't worry, buddy. You'll be okay. And it just kind of held its head up thinking, what's that guy doing out of this vehicle? He should be in it. I was looking for tracks, forgive me. Okay. So, let's try and move the vehicle a little bit so I can show you those tracks. As I was saying, none of us followed up here yesterday afternoon. We had other action elsewhere. So, we've lost out on a little bit of time with regards to their latest movements. Wonderful. Just over here, Sens, you can see the tracks. Or that one over there. There's a good one there. So there you can see the little kind of three-lobed back pad and the four toes in the front. Heading towards the car. But then when I got onto the road, there's lots of elephant tracks that have crushed the leopard's tracks. So they've walked on top of the leopard's tracks, which indicates that it's not too fresh. But let's drive a little bit down this road, see if we can't find anything. And you'll be glad to know the issues on Steve's vehicle seem to have been resolved. So you're heading back to him and the lions.
Yes, thank you very much. Apologies for the technical issues there. No idea what happened, but we have the majority of the pride just coming down to the water's edge there to have a drink. Let's have a look at that. The resident hippos are in attendance, and we have at least, let's see, at least 5 individuals there at the moment. Apologies. Isn't that marvelous? The rest of them, I'm sure, will be on their way soon. And then who knows in what direction these lions will start to move. Veronica. Oh wow, actually there's 2 more off to the right. Veronica, big cats can swim. In the Okavango Delta in Botswana, there are actually lion prides there that swim. They follow and chase buffalo, and they've got very used to swimming. But what I've seen in my experience with leopards and cat and lions is they don't like to swim. They actually seem to be a bit afraid of the water, and in many occasions I've seen both lion and leopard that are kind of crossing a drainage system, and there seems to be a bit of water trickling down because of some rainfall. They almost hiss at the water and they jump across it. They look quite awkward with water, but I think it's just got to do with where they're born and how important water is in their life. And if a lion lives in an area like the Okavango where from an early age it's exposed to water and to floods, then they seem to get over it. But out here in the Kruger we don't get such extensive amounts of water, or the rivers aren't too bad. The lions always have a way of crossing it without swimming, so they tend to seem to not swim at all. That is my experience anyway. Dave, do you want me to get a bit closer there? Okay, so we're going to see if we can get a bit closer there. We just wanted to come onto the dam wall to see if we could see exactly where they're going to go to. And now we can go in and down there to exactly where they are. We can get a nice little visual of them. Lacey, that's a very good question. How do we tell them apart, the different prides? Essentially, you look at adult females, and there's characteristics about them. What's very easy with Nkuhumas is the one female's... Ooh, I'm just going to stay right here, because we've got a small breeding herd of elephant that are coming down, unless you want me to go in there, Dave. This could be interesting. We've got the lions off to our right, and we've got the elephant coming in from the left. And I have no doubt that they will smell these lions. I don't think the lions will do anything apart from... Ooh, hello, that's a lovely little sand bath, youngster. It's like a young boy. The lions' heads are up. They're very interested to know what it is that's coming. Apologies for my head there. It's okay, Mama. It's okay. It's all good. Her eyes are very soft. She's coming right next to the vehicle, but she's not showing any sign of aggression. It's okay, Mama. She's right here next to us. A little bit awkward on the downhill, elephants are. Isn't that marvelous? The lions watch on in interest, wondering, could we, should we? Then they look at the adults and go, nope, not interested. Can we play with that, Mum? Mum won't even look. She's like, no, don't be silly, children. You can see the intention on the youngsters' faces. It's the biggest toy they've ever seen. So to answer that question again, look at how the intention of all the lions is in one direction. From the back, you would see all those black spots on the ears all focused on the same target, so to speak, and that is how they communicate with each other. Obviously, they will not be hunting elephant today, but that is how they know the intention of specifically the lionesses, who are the ones who would instigate the hunt. Okay, so now that the elephant have moved away, we're going to continue on in our original plan to get down there with the lions. Because we can. And I'm sure all of you back home would like us to. Donna wants to know if lions can get distemper. I don't think so. I believe distemper is called canine distemper, but then I'm really not too familiar with a lot of the diseases. But I don't think lions can get canine distemper. That's more of a dog-related disease. But then I do stand to be corrected on that. I'm sure there is someone out there. Please send through your comment to #SafariLive and let us know if you think or know categorically that lions can actually get distemper. I know there's something that's very, very bad with dogs. Let's just be careful here. We don't want to fall into a hole. Brent is arriving today, and I'm not in the mood to get the Marshmallow Award before his arrival, because I am sure I will not hear the end of that. Are you happy there, Darby? Okay. So the elephants are enjoying their water on the other side of the dam. There they are. A little bit of a view of them. There we go, much better. Sorry about the bumpiness. What a marvelous morning we are having. So when we talk about going and checking the dams, this is why we check the dams. We could have elephants coming to drink. There could be lions lying very close in attendance. And as we've seen a lot as well, we find leopards. So it's very important from a guiding point of view to check the dams. And because we know dams are the currency of life, and animals will always be in and around them. But in the wet season, which is now, it is harder to find animals because pools of water occur all over the place. But as it gets drier and drier and drier, there's no option. Just go and check the water hole. You'll find animals. That is a guaranteed. Gallons. Pee-wee Bruce. Hello, good morning. Pee-wee Bruce. very interesting name. You'd like to know how many gallons of water a lion can drink. I have absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. I know that they can eat a huge amount of meat, but I don't think that they can drink as much water. I really don't know. Do you have any idea, Dave?
Nope.
So 1 gallon's 3 litres. That's a lot of water. I really have no idea. At the rate they lick it up, they don't get too much water in. But I know Scott had Tumba the other day drinking and drinking and drinking. Tumba's the young leopard he's following up on. Drinking and drinking and drinking, and he seemed to suck in huge amounts of water. But I really honestly do not know the answer to that, I'm afraid. I will make a note of it. Any of the viewers out there know the answer to Pee-wee Bruce's question? How many gallons of water or litres of water can a lion drink? Safari Hayes has commented that big cats can get distemper. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that. I'm wondering if it's fatal to them, though, because distemper in dogs is fatal. I'm wondering if they're able to get past it. Really nice shots there of them drinking. So the youngster still hasn't come out of the bushes, and I've no doubt one of these adults, the one who just joined, in a moment will probably make a little call so that the smallest member of the pride will catch up, come and meet them by the waterhole. Thanks, Conrad. So Conrad in the tech room has gone and Googled for me. Yeah, you can hear her calling. Has Googled for me and said that, here comes the little one on the left. Lions get about 8 cups of water a day, so similar to us. Except they don't use cups. Conrad, thanks, sir. They use their tongue. Could you hear those little contact calls? I love the sound of lions calling each other like that. It's quite a frightening sound when you're on foot and you hear that, because that is generally the call a female is giving to her cubs. And when you hear the reciprocated little from the cub, you could end up, or you could be in a whole lot of trouble if you're not careful, especially on foot. So the whole pride is here. The female with the injured hip moved a little bit off up the sort of dry riverbed here, but the rest of them seem to be lying flat, doing their thing. So we're going to stay here with these Nkuhumas, and if anything materializes, we'll come straight back. So while we do that, let's go over to Taylor for an update.
Well, Sebastian and I have decided that we are just doing a drive today, not a game drive, because that would insinuate that we might see some animals. So we're just on a bumble. We haven't actually seen much at all. It's deathly quiet. Not well, besides an old set of male lion tracks, I actually haven't seen any cat tracks at all this morning. Any fresh ones, at least. So we're just going along Philemon's cut line, and I think we're going to pop out onto Gowrie Main and have a little scratch around there and see what was moving around on some of the boundary roads. Maybe that will give us a bit more insight on where we need to head to. But for now, it's very quiet. Let's see if we've got any little birdies around. I can hear a few tweets here and there, but it sounds like they're quite far into this bush willow thicket. I mean, this tree that we're going past now would be the most perfect tree for some birds to be sitting up in and warming themselves up in the morning light. But do you think that they're there? No. No one's home. Pity that gymnogene isn't back up there again. That would be a good spot for it to start looking for things. Where are you, animals? Now, Kim, why does it get dry in the winter and rainy in the summer? I suppose that's just how we're fairly close. We're not actually too far away from the coast at all as the crow flies. So typically in South Africa, the towns and things like that along the coast will get more of a winter rainfall, and as soon as you move further inland, we get a summer rainfall. So yeah, it's just one of those things, I suppose, how the weather is all designed. I suppose it's depending on a lot to do with the various currents in the ocean, something along those lines. Anyways, wait, Kirsten, what did you just say to me? Did I hear correctly? What? My goodness, let's very quickly go across to Scott then. That sounds exciting.
It certainly is exciting stuff. We have found Thandi. No sign of the little cub yet, but I'm guessing that they've got a kill somewhere nearby, and she's just come here to quench her thirst. Her belly is looking quite full. How epic. I'd actually just got out to check for any tracks of her drinking around this waterhole, jumped into the vehicle and started driving, and there she was, heading straight towards the very place that we had just checked. What an absolute treat, and isn't this beautiful? The lighting is absolutely perfect, and I am happy to see you again, Thandi. It's been quite a while since I've seen you. I think the last time I saw you was the afternoon that Taylor continued the sighting, where she had an impala ram kill. There was no sign of the cub that afternoon. It was kind of hiding in the bushes, but that was the last time I've seen her, probably about a week ago. Beautiful. And I'm told a lot of you guys are celebrating. Woohoo! Well, that's great, because then it's not just Senzo and myself. Now, I'm going to be very interested to see what she gets up to next. Where are you going to take us? Are you going to take us back to wherever you've been feeding? Do you still have some of the kill remaining? Where's your young cub? Now, the reason why I don't think she's hunting is that her belly is quite full. Difficult to see while she's crouched down like this. But why wouldn't the cub come for a drink as well? Patrick, you've also noticed that she's got quite a full belly. Let's see when she starts walking. It'll be far more visible. Oh, no, you still want to quench your thirst. Magical. Well, we're getting spoiled rotten this morning, guys. Lions, leopards, elephants, all kinds of action unfolding. I really hope she takes us back to the cub, or the cub just comes bounding out of the bushes. Now, it's quite interesting. For those of you who weren't on the sunrise safari yesterday, you wouldn't know that there was actually another leopardess seen in this very same area that we're in now. And it wasn't positively identified. And there was a kind of, when Taxon, one of the guides, initially found it, he wasn't sure whether the leopard was nervous of the vehicle, or whether it was simply kind of running after some kudu. So, or possibly a bit of both. Maybe it was both skittish and hunting the kudu. But it'll be very interesting to see who that could be, and I'm sure as the weeks and months go by, we will probably find out who it is. Trish, you would like to know if the cub is still nursing, would it need to drink water? Well, yes and no. I mean, the fact that I'm confident that they've been feeding on a kill means that there would have been kind of less of a need for mom to allow the cub to nurse, because it's getting lots of food from the meat. And in that case, yeah, I mean, I wonder if it didn't quench its thirst with a little bit of milk for dessert after whatever the kill was, a little milkshake. That could be the case. But it certainly does still need to drink water. I don't know if we've actually ever filmed it drinking water, the little cub. But it certainly would have and will be drinking water as and when. But I don't actually think we have documented that yet. But again, it's not to say it hasn't happened. Sure. You can probably hear her lapping it up very gently or very quietly. Not the most efficient way of drinking. I'm glad I don't have to drink like a leopard. Imagine trying to drink a beer like that. Out of a bowl. Not much fun. Very time consuming. Okay. Isn't this magical? Colbert, you would like to try and do a head count as to how many leopards we've actually seen now in the last 24 hours. Well, Tingana and Tumba yesterday afternoon. Who was in the morning? Did we have any leopards in the morning? I think Taylor had Hosanna in the morning. So we're on 4. Yeah, so we're on 4. No sign of Hukumuri for a few days now. Oh, everyone, please have happy thoughts, because the area she's heading into is a bit of a nightmare with regards to off-roading. There's a whole network of little gullies and riverbeds which is going to make it very tricky to negotiate. So while we do that, it does look like she's heading back in the same direction she came from. So I'm hoping she is going to take us back to a kill. But we're going to send you back to Steve and the Lions while I try and focus on keeping an eye on her. Okay, welcome back. That didn't last too long. And I guess you'll just have to watch out for the branches and squeeze tight, because this is going to get interesting. We've already had to move quite a distance from her because of the fact that there's a large section of kind of eroded riverbeds that we can't make our way through. But we're kind of traveling parallel to where she was moving, and I'm hoping she's going to pop out somewhere up ahead here. Very good. Well, while we negotiate the off-roading, we're going to send you... Oh no, we're not going to... we don't need to send you anywhere just yet, because we've got very lucky here. Phew. Oh, she's calling the cub. She called the cub there. Listen carefully, she might do it again. She's going right behind the back of the vehicle. How cool is that? No, she did just call the cub. So that's good prospects. Hopefully it's not too far away. Oh, there's an elephant right in front of us here. But we're not going to stop to look at that. Sure, well, thankfully the bad area that she was heading into, she's veered away from, so things are now looking more promising that we'll be able to stay with her. It's one of the trickiest things for me to deal with, is losing a leopard once you found one, especially after such a short space of time, because it's not easy to find them. What have you got in terms of a kill, and how far away is it from us, Thandi? I'm very excited to find out, and I'm also very excited to see that little cub. So she's kind of making her way down a bit of a game trail here. I'll try and stop just to... You can kind of see how she likes to stick to these kind of... You could call them secondary roads. She's called the cub again, which hopefully means it's not too far away. Michelle, you said, come on, baby cub. And we need more people to urge that same notion to come true. Not just you, Michelle, but everybody. We need everybody to have happy thoughts. Let's see if she doesn't do another call here. I think she's going to. There it is. She is calling again. Listen carefully. You can maybe faintly hear the calls. It's tricky because she's facing the wrong way, but you still can just pick up that faint. Oh. Oh. Very good. Now the good thing is that if she does reunite with the cub is going to be an absolute bundle of joy, and it's something that I think we should certainly share with as many people as possible. So we are going to welcome on board a whole bunch of extra people in the next minute or so. So you're going to have to squeeze up in your seats to make space for everyone. Just to warn you, try and get on one of the window seats. You don't want to be stuck in the middle. I'm quite surprised that she's not marching with more intent. It's almost kind of worrying me a little bit. So why aren't you just marching to where you know you left the cub? Okay, well, we're ready to welcome on board everyone, so I'm just going to keep quiet for a second. Hello everyone, and welcome on board this live safari. Take a close look at this leopard and listen carefully. She's trying to call her cub. She's got a young cub that's about 4.5 months old, and we've just found this leopard drinking at a small waterhole, and now it looks like she's trying to find out where her little cub is hiding. She obviously left it somewhere in this area. And we couldn't resist inviting you guys on board to enjoy what will be a wonderful, wonderful spectacle as Mom and the cub reunite. But I can hear some branches breaking, and I think there's actually an elephant in the area, so that might get in Mom's way. I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Scott, and I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera. Please do communicate with us using the comment box below, and we will get back to as many of you as possible. I'm just going to try and get into a spot here. I don't think we're going to be able to see both her and the elephants in one shot, but I would just like to show you the elephant quickly. It's kind of crashing through the bushes over there. And Benoli, you saying, come out, little one. And I'm confident it is just a matter of time before we get to see this little cub. So exciting stuff. And we've been following the life of this leopard and her cub quite closely since the cub was born around mid-November last year, and it's been really, really fascinating to watch the rate at which this little cub is growing. Kelly, you just mentioned how beautiful this leopard called Thandi is, and she certainly is a fine specimen. Wait until you see how cute her little cub is. Now, as you can see, we are busy off-roading, so I'm trying to negotiate the easiest way through here. It might get a bit sticky at points, but I'm feeling confident we should be able to keep an eye on her until she gets back to the cub. Amy, you've mentioned that you were in South Africa last year and you said it was a life-changing trip. Well, that's exactly what we like to hear. And when you're planning your next safari, Amy, why don't you come and visit us here at Djuma? Oof. she's going into kind of an impenetrably thick block here. But let me stop for a second. We'll still be able to get you a few views of her. She's still calling the cub. Oh, she just stopped and picked up her head there. Maybe the cub is close. Ryan, you'd like to know if this young cub would possibly climb a tree to escape danger? Yes, it certainly would. It's going to be the cub's number one method of escaping harm. And on many occasions, in and around kills, which the mom could be leading us back to now, young leopards will be forced to climb up trees to escape predators like hyena and lion that can come in and try and steal from the leopard. Mom has stopped. She's just through there. Shashank, you would like to know if she uses scent to try and follow the trail of where her cub is, and yes, she might. She's just disappeared. She was in there. We're going to have to do a bit of a loop around here. It's getting a bit tricky. So yes, she will kind of use her nose to try and sniff out. Oh, she is still there. She is just stationary here, so maybe this is the area where she left the cub. Sometimes the cub can be a little bit rebellious there. You can see a few spots. Well done, Senzo. And it's got a little bit of a mind of its own. And I've actually been quite surprised that when Mom does call, the cub sometimes has a bit of a delayed response. Why aren't you listening to your mother, youngster? Maybe she's planning a playful ambush on her. She's probably creeping up on her mom. She loves practicing her stalking and pouncing on Mom, which provides us with lots of wonderful scenes. Ooh, we're going to make somebody's day here now, and we've got somebody called Carlos, who says that this is pre-recorded. If that was the case, we would be very clever to know that a man called Carlos was watching and was going to say that. Good to have you on board, Carlos. This is 100% live. Okay, so now that we've put Carlos's mind to rest, that this is in fact real and we are not telling lies, hopefully we'll be able to show you all this little cub. Tammy, you would like to know if the cub has got a name. And no, it doesn't have a name yet, but it will be getting one soon, and you all will be involved in helping to choose what name to give it. So I'm not too sure exactly when it's going to happen, but it is going to happen in the next week or so, I'm told. So we will name it. I think there's going to be possibly 3 options for you all to choose from, all Shangaan names, and we will be naming the cub earlier than they ordinarily. Let me just try and move forward a bit. I think we could get a slightly better view. We do name the cub slightly earlier than other people ordinarily would, and the reason for that is because we are slightly different to regular safari outfits that work in this area, and that is why we're going to name the cub early, because we spend so much time with these animals. Sorry, I'm just having to stand on my seat here to see where she is. You should actually be able to get a view of her from there, but at least she's sitting around in this area, so I'm confident that it is the fact that the cub is just kind of lurking nearby. There we've got a nice gap. Cynthia, you say you can't hear the calling and you'd like to know what it sounds like. It sounds something a little bit like this. Oh! Oh! That's my impersonation of it. I don't think I'm too far off. Now, there was another female leopard in this general area yesterday, and I'm hoping that this other female has not caused any harm to the young cub. Even though it's not highly likely, leopardess will fight ferociously with other leopardess over territories. So let's hope nothing's happened to the youngster. Okay, we're going to have to do some hustling and bustling here to try and keep up with her. She has slowly slunk off, but I'm confident that this cub is somewhere nearby. It's just not behaving itself and listening to Mama's calls. Okie dokie. So she was sitting somewhere just here, and she kind of headed further down in this direction we're heading in now, so I'm hoping we're going to be able to catch up with her. But as I'm sure you can see, it's quite thick. Carlos, you say, okay, I believe you now, and I'm glad that you stumbled upon us, Carlos, and it is hard to believe that we are coming to you live from the middle of the African wilderness, so I would have said exactly the same thing as you. At 3. Hey, Sense? 1 o'clock. Okay, Senzo's got a view of her. Let me just try and move again. Is she moving, Sense? Okay. Well done, Senzo. Okay, so we're going to have to do a bit of a loop here. Nikki, you say you hope the cub is safe. So do I. It's nerve-wracking stuff, spending time with the leopards and their cubs, because sadly very often they do actually get killed. The success rates of leopards raising cubs is quite lower than you would expect, so it always is a bit of a concern of ours when we're not sure if they are in fact okay. Jeez, we're having to work for this morning. Helen, you say that I've got the best job in the world, and yes, on a day like today, it certainly is. I couldn't agree more. And it's wonderful to be able to share these moments with you guys live, because of course if we couldn't, it would be very lonely. Sue, you'd like to know if the cub has had any interactions with other leopards, and yes, I'm certain it would have, but we haven't actually seen that happen. I'm fairly certain it would have met its father, and who knows which other leopards it may have come across. But yes, like I say, we have not seen any sightings of her with others. Now, I've interestingly just seen an antelope, a few of them, just in front of us here. And even though this leopard was looking for her cub, if she knows that there's an easy meal nearby, she may change tune, stop calling, and try and snipe one of them. It's an antelope called an inyala. Tricky to see there, you can see its ears twitching. And because it is so thick here, I think it just makes sense to stop for a second, make sure she's not trying to creep up on them, and also just be able to listen to her soft contact calls, which will help us pinpoint where in fact she is. Tricky thing is, like I said, if she has stopped calling and is now stalking these inyala, it will make it very, very tricky for us to see her, because she'll be doing her best to dissolve into the undergrowth. Where are you? Be careful, antelope. There is a leopard very nearby. I'm guessing they would have heard her contact calls and know that something's up as well. So they've probably got a bit of a warning already. What to do, what to do. Always a bit of a conundrum in situations like this. Whether to keep the vehicle still and listen, because you can listen to further than you can see, or to drive around and keep checking in case that leopard's still moving. Wazzy, you'd like to know how long will the leopardess look for its cub if something bad did happen to it and it maybe disappeared, so to speak. With this leopard's mother, actually, this is Thandi. Her mother was called Kruger, and it was actually her birthday today, but she's sadly no longer around. She disappeared midway through last year. None of us know what happened to her. She lost one of her cubs in 2014 when I just started here, and it was killed by hyena. And she went back 24 hours later to where she saw that cub getting killed. They were moving together, so she knew full well what happened. It's not like she wasn't aware what happened. But she still went back 24 hours later to that very same spot and was calling desperately, just hoping, I guess, that it would come back to life, I guess, because she knew full well that it had been sniped by a hyena. They were moving through the bush together, and a hyena just came in, and within a few seconds, sadly, that cub was no longer. Thinking of moving a little bit because we haven't heard anything for a while now, and I'm worried that this leopard could have continued moving. Try and poke our nose in here to where Senzo last saw her moving off to. Oof. Sheesh, guys, as you can tell, it's incredibly thick here. And I think I'm going to have to do a kind of big loop around in an area where I can actually negotiate all this thick vegetation and try and see if we can't catch up with her. So we're going to say goodbye to all of you guys that have just joined us briefly. Sorry we didn't get to see Mom reunite with the cub, but we did have some epic visuals, and I guess that is the joy of being on a live safari. You simply do not know exactly what is going to happen, so best to be there live to see it all unfold as and when it does. Very good. We'll be sure to notify you guys if we do in fact find her and the cub a little bit later. Otherwise, you can just Google Safari Live if you would like to continue watching the safari. We've still got another hour and 20 minutes to go before we shut down this morning's Operation Magic. See you next time. Okay, very good, everyone. We are going to now send you across to Steve with the lions as we try and find out where Thandi has gone.
Thanks very much. Something has just got me attention. There's lioness, and it just stood up, two of them. Not sure what they've seen or smelt or heard, but there's the two lioness moving off there. There's a third one I've just noticed is a little bit further off in the bush. Maybe it's just the heat that's getting to them, but they weren't lying in the shade. They're all up. There's definitely some intention in their eyes there, so let's go around and have a little look. We obviously don't want to disturb whatever might happen, so we're going to keep a nice sort of distance from them. And as soon as we spot some animal that they might be seeing, we're going to switch off and watch action unfold. If there's anything there at all, there's definitely something there. The intention on the lionesses is very obvious. Sutters wants to know if the pride has a hierarchy, and not specifically. The lionesses that you see there, the four adults are moving. They are the ones who determine where the pride goes, and they're the ones who select the individual for hunting, and they're also the ones who pull down, generally, whatever it is that they hunt. The youngsters should learn to stay back initially in the first year and a bit, because all they do is really mess up the hunt. They don't have the patience, they don't have the skill, they don't have the know-how to pull down an animal. But you can see these three lionesses are intentions there. The third lioness is kind of moving off to the left. They definitely can see or hear something. The wind is coming directly towards them at the moment. It's amazing how quickly one moves and all four of them, or all three of them, join the individual that moved to go and see what they can do. You see how that one's now going right? The cubs are slowly starting to come in from the back now. Sometimes they can be useful to help to flush the quarry, but often when they're very playful, they often give away the presence of the cats because they start getting quite boisterous and jumping, and they just don't have the patience that the adults have. So it would be in their best interests to just stay back and keep out of the way, if they are hungry, that is. And lions are generally always hungry, except for when they've devoured an entire buffalo. So who knows what it is they might have seen, but we're going to keep going with them. We're going to try keep a bit left of the pride here, keep out of their way. This could be exciting. Do not go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladybird, they do. They know how to be silent. They just know exactly what to do without any sort of communication that we can tell. But that's why the intention, the colors on the ears, an adult gets up, there's intention in her body language. It's all about body language in lions. And then they all pick up on those cues, and then they move off to do whatever it is that they need to do. Now they are seeming to lie down. Whatever it is possibly is moved off. Excitement is abated. Hello, beautiful ladies. Being in and around the waterhole, this is the strategy that a lot of lions and leopards employ, is to hang around water and allow the herbivore animals who are desperate to drink to come down to drink. Quite often what you'll notice is that these animals, the herbivores, impala, kudu, buffalo, will come in the heat of the day so as to avoid the movement of lions who are pretty much lying up in the coolness when it's getting very hot. So the heat of the day means that the predators are going to be less mobile and probably less chance of stalking them. What has she seen? I think whatever it is still lurking around in the bushes here. Definitely something going on. Not sure what it is. But as Taylor likes to say, we've got our patience pants on. Lions have got their patience pants on. If there's anything that they would like to do, they'd like to kill something before it gets too hot. You can already feel the temperature has risen dramatically. It is going to be a very warm day. If you can hear the call of the brown-hooded kingfisher in the background. Rian Deer Apple would like to know if the lions leave a female with the cubs when they go hunting. And what happens in the first few months of the cub's life is they get left in bushes away from the action, and a lioness will come to them from time to time to give them milk, but they don't generally stay with them. They go hunting because they need to feed, and they come back again to their cubs that they've stashed in a bush or in the thickets, quite similar to what Thandi does. Hence she's on her way back to try and find her cub. But what's happening with this pride at the moment is the cub seems to be following her this pride everywhere. It's keeping up. It lost a few of its siblings a few months ago, so it is the last of the new lineage. Obviously there's a few more sort of sub-adults in the pride, but that one seems to follow the pride everywhere. Although when we were tracking them last week, it appears that through the tracks, the Nkuhumas pride came from the north of our property, went straight through to the bottom, to the south. They went off into Little Gowrie, which is below us, and the cubs stayed on our side. And then in the afternoon, they had reports of the one lioness coming back to fetch the cub. So that's what they'll do when they do hunt and they end up losing or leaving the cub behind. They'll go back to the last location and then call it in. But the cub is no use in the hunt, no use in the stalk. Let's see if we can carry on with these lions. They are moving. Okay, so we are going to go over to Taylor with one of the lion's favorite foods. Let's see what she has.
We've got the impala. We've got all the impala, in fact, and the entire northern Sabi sand gathered up here on the wide open plains behind camp, behind the DRC, so that's where we stay, the Djuma Research Centre. And it makes sense for them to be up here. This area is flourishing at the moment, not only with lovely tall grass, but there's all these little shrubs and things popping out too. Nice spot. You can see what's coming towards you. Well, most of the time. And then, of course, big marulas and massive silver cluster leaves, some of the bigger ones, out here in the open, which will, of course, provide them with lots of shade, especially on a hot day like today. They don't have to go far. They can kind of just stand underneath the trees as they cast their shadows and carry on feeding. Or they can sit down and ruminate. They can do a number of different things. But it's all cool, calm, and collected now. That's not going to last for too long. Soon we're going to start to hear the grunting and the gurgling sounds that will come from the impala rams, and some of these youngsters that we can see are going to be chased away from this area because this is a prime spot. This is one of the most sought after territories for the big impala rams. Like we've just discussed, all the food, all the shade, and then of course Vuyatela Dam is not very far away at all. And at night, there are very few open spaces on Djuma. It's quite a dense property, as most of you have seen. Everybody likes to come out into the open at night time. They don't want to stand around in the thickets where anything could sneak up on them. So they all come here. So whichever impala ram or 2 or 3 impala rams perhaps can claim their territory up here, well done to them. They're going to have a good spot, but they're going to have to be on their toes as the rutting season will soon begin in the next month. And they're going to have lots and lots of contenders coming from far and wide. I quite like that. Dances with Dirt. She said it's an impala party. It is an impala party. It's lovely. I was just wondering where the wildebeest are. Normally they're living in and amongst the impala. And then the McCurdy was a herd of zebra that I became quite fond of and just didn't seem to mind me walking around on foot around them, which was quite nice. They're not here. I'm surprised though, because it's really, this is the most beautiful I've ever seen quarantine, this open plain that we're talking about. I've never seen it so lush before. I mean, clearly I think the animals are a sign that it is beautiful. Lots of birds around. Not right now, of course, as I say, there's lots of birds, but normally when I come for a run during the day, there's always hornbills on the ground. The southern ground hornbills like to come through here as well, trying to snatch up all the grasshoppers and locusts and other insects that they can find. I'm sure there's the few rodents, maybe the odd chameleon sitting on a small shrub trying to escape the heat of the day. Looks like a few of them are already finding their shady spots to settle in. This lot is. All very calm, quiet though. It's really nice, very peaceful. Do you want to hear how quiet it is? Listen. You can just hear the odd turtle dove here and then, here and there. Alvin, you've said that you always feel a bit sorry for the impalas because they're the victims. It is sad, of course, it's not the greatest thing. However, impalas are super important to the ecosystem for that exact reason, is that they're a food source. Remember, a leopard and a lion, sometimes we do see them eating grass, but they're not eating grass for the reasons that an impala is eating grass. Their digestive systems can't break down the cellulose in plant matter, but an impala can, a bushbuck and the rest of the antelope and herbivore species can do so. So essentially they're turning this vegetation into proteins that then the predators can feed on. So they are exceptionally important and they have to sacrifice themselves every now and then. But there's so many of them. So even though you might lose a couple a week, there's still plenty to go around. And they just keep breeding. Remember, they'll have a lamb once every year. Most of them probably won't make it to adulthood, but they definitely keep increasing the population, that's for sure. If anything, there's probably too many impala in this area. Luckily, we've got so many leopards, though, that like feasting upon them. Well, off you go, back across to the Nkuhumas. I'm so happy that they're still on the property this morning. Hopefully, they'll hang around for this afternoon safari.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. We are still with them. We've managed to follow them across this sort of dry riverbed. And we're now sitting. That's the brown-hooded kingfisher calling. And now we are sitting with them. They've just come to the other side and they've just plopped down again, all ears, listening for whatever it might be in the bushes there for them to snack on. As I said, impala are one of their favorite hors d'oeuvres. And in a pride of this size, an impala doesn't go very far, so they'd ideally be looking for a kudu or a buffalo, or maybe even one of those giraffe that are hanging around. That would suit their needs quite nicely. Susie, very good question, wants to know if the sub-adults ever try and bring down the kill. When they're at this age, I don't think so. They're at this age, they're a little bit too young. But as they get too closer to 2, 2.5, up until 3, then they become quite instrumental in the hunting and breaking down or pulling down of the prey. They're a little bit too boisterous at the moment. They don't really have too much patience. But if the lioness had gotten a buffalo, I mean, I think Taylor had some documented with one of the prides up in the Masai Mara earlier this year, or was it last year, of the lioness that caught a younger buffalo and how the youngsters were jumping on it and practicing to pull it down. So there are times when the adults will let the youngsters attempt and practice, which is very important for their techniques. But whether they physically hunt and stalk and pull down at this age, it's probably unlikely, but they do work very well as a flushing agent because they look like lions, they are lions, and they often help to chase the unsuspecting prey. We're going to go to Scott very quickly.
Any prey? And that's why I'm guessing it's his nose that he's using. He's trying to keep himself as low to the ground as possible, and I know it's not easy for us to see him, and I will move forward a little bit, but there will come a point where we might not be able to move anymore because we don't want to interrupt in his hunting. We don't want to chase away his food or possibly by mistake chase his food into him. We don't want to have any effect. Look at how cool this is.
Back with us, no idea who Scott has got there, but apparently it's a different leopard. This is ridiculous. We've got the Nkuhuma pride. Scott was with Thandi. I was told, link quickly to Scott, he's got Thandi, and then I hear he doesn't have Thandi, it's another leopard altogether. Who in the world could it be? My goodness, this place is producing all sorts of cats today. Apparently, that was a false alarm. In my ear, I've been told Senzo is playing some old footage. I'm not quite sure how that works. But we are here still with these majestic lions. And, oh, I can hear one calling off to the left. Let's have a listen. Can you hear that? It actually seems quite far. I don't know if it's one of these individuals here. It does sound like a contact call. There's one just in the bushes here on my left. And it's possible they left one of the individuals back there where we had them previously on the other side of the dam. Just a contact call. None of these seem to respond to it though. So it might actually be a distant call of one of those sub-adult males that they've been talking about in the north, which is that way. And I'm actually quite glad that the lions moved because we were sitting in a very hot position before that. Did you hear that? Dave got a bit of a fright, did you, Dave? These two youngsters are playing in the bushes. Not quite sure. Mum is up now. She's interested. What's going on? They are on high alert. They have lots of kids to provide for. They need to keep up their strength and they need to eat regularly. Lions are not the most successful of the predators, but they do kill enough. And they need to secure large prey animals so as to sustain their growing numbers. And it's a good time of year to do so. The little youngsters are playing. Is Mum going to come? Ooh, what's he playing with? It's almost as if he's got something there. He's got a scrub hare. Oh my goodness. That young lioness has got a scrub hare. That is fantastic. I thought it was playing with something, and now the others are going to go and try and steal it from him. So let's go down there and have a look at how he claims his prize for himself. Oh, sorry, little cubby. So now what I know with lions is when they do secure some of their own meat. Okay, yeah, there is that other lioness on the other side of the river there. So we have got a traffic jam in the form of the littlest member of the pride. He's sitting behind our vehicle. Sorry for the aerial. We cannot go there, but so that youngster was a young sub-adult, was in the bushes there, and the scrub hare was probably standing dead still. All the other lions had walked straight past it. And we heard that noise. You heard that noise in the bush. I thought that was two individuals in the bush having a little bit of a go at each other. But what it actually was that individual catching a scrub hare. Marvelous. I'd like to go around and have a look, because what happens with lions doesn't matter the age. They will not give up their food once they've caught it. If they've got a leg or they've got a piece of liver or they've got something from the kill, they will not give it up. And there's almost like a respect towards that. There's a couple of them are going to go have a look. I'm sure they might try. But sorry, little cubby, you are in our way. But we can't go there. I'm not going to try to chase this cub away. It might move shortly as all the interest is on the scrub hare. The cub is doing it deliberately, folks. It knows we want to go and show you some wonderful things, but it would rather be the center of attention. Do you realize, cub, that the aerial is in the way, so it is not the best view? The most adorable roadblock ever. How can anyone be upset with that? I'm going to try and turn around. At least we might be able to sneak past. At least get a better look at this youngster without the aerial in the way. There we go. She's moved for us. Thank you, my dear. Let's go have a look at a kill that we didn't catch on camera fully, but we did see the end of it. There he is, over there, or she, in the long grass. Yeah, there's one of the lionesses, because there's the young male. JP, a scrub hare is a hare. It looks like a rabbit, slightly different to a rabbit in its breeding. Hello, Mama. Why are you looking at me so strange?
We've got some exciting news, so you couldn't have come at a better time. It looks like we've just found tracks of Thandi and the youngster, some fresh tracks on top of elephant tracks, heading up this road to the same waterhole where Thandi actually just had a drink. So I think she must have reunited with the cub, and then... Oh, what's going on here? The tracks are now going back. What is happening? What is happening? Tracks are up and down here, and I'm battling to tell what we should do, but let's keep working this area. They could be around, and we're going to send you back to Steve and the lions with their little hors d'oeuvre.
Thanks, Scotty. Yes, here is... Oh, they are having some playtime now. But every lion that comes nearby this youngster with its kill is... Just have a listen to it. Have a listen.